ladies and gentlemen, it's my singular privilege to welcome you to this special AGM of African Tourism Board, and I'm truly grateful. I can see we are already 43 of us who are present, and the number is likely to go up as we start the meeting. This being our very first meeting, I think it's only important that we are able to thank God for the far we have come, and for the last year, despite the turbulence that we went through, we have been able to weather the storm, and now we are in 2021. So Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
And happy new ATB, perhaps. I want to take this opportunity then to quickly say that our meeting is going to be very focused. It has
I think your microphone went off. I muted everyone. I'm so sorry because we had so much background noise. If you can please turn your microphone back on, and then we can, okay. I can also, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much, Jürgen, for that. And so members, most welcome to our first AGM, and I'm most privileged to be able to chair this session on behalf of our very able chair, Cuthbert, who is going to make a very detailed report. So I think it's only fair that one of us is able to coordinate the discussion for the sake of ensuring that we are able to go through this. Now, I'm sure we all have received a copy of the agenda for today's meeting. And so I'm not going to take too long, other than the fact that we are here for a very important purpose. That's why we are not going into any introductions or anything else. Being a special meeting, I think we want to go straight to this particular important agenda. The first agenda for the day is the ATB Chair's report to the members, and then especially the stakeholders who are present, and to ensure that we are able to know where we have come from, where we are, and where we are going. So on that note, may I welcome our Cuthbert to be able to take us through the agenda number one.
Thank you so much, Chair. I really appreciate to my esteemed colleagues, our ambassadors, our chairs of committees, and I believe that we do have ministers in our midst. I just want to welcome you in a very special way. It is with great appreciation, colleagues, as we acknowledge God's providences, as the chair has alluded, that we all can attest to. 2020 surely had been a very challenging year for all of us. We have lost our loved ones through the pandemic. We have lost a degree of our livelihoods. This thing has devastated our entities, but there is one thing we need to be most grateful. It is the gift of life. Let's all celebrate and live it to the fullest. And by the way, he who has brought us this far, he will surely and faithfully carry us through 2021. May I take the privilege, colleagues, to congratulate our patron, Dr. Taleb, for his appointment as the Secretary General of the World Tourism Forum Institute. That is a link to the World Economic Forum. It is a progressive milestone for African Tourism Board within the global travel space. Through it all, ATB has made so much strides and inroads during the year 2020. May I share with all our members the highlights and the progress made by your undivided commitment and dedication in fighting for equal share and rebranding of our continent to be a preferred tourist destination of choice for our travelers, with much emphasis on our domestic and intra-Africa travel. November 2019, African Tourism Board was invited to participate on global investment opportunities in sustainable tourism, mainly focusing on drawing investments towards the continent. It was hosted by the International Tourism Institute in collaboration with the World Tourism Market in London. And in February 2020, African Tourism Board was invited to officiate the opening of Rwanda in Tanzania, where bilateral engagements were discussed and agreed upon in collaboration with the travel and also investment sectors. In May 2020, African Tourism Board hosted the Rapid Economic Recovery Response as the world was facing an insurgence of the pandemic. In April 2020, the World Tourism Market, that's in Africa and REIT exhibition, requested African Tourism Board to participate in a high-level session moderated by our African Tourism Board President, Alain Sandenge. Unfortunately, that was the very same time when lockdowns were implemented across the globe. Colleagues, in June 2020, ATB signed the Society of Incentive Travel Excellency in Africa. We also participated, and the emphasis was on how do we position the continent within our global space. As we ran to 2020 July Africa Travel Week in partnership with the World Tourism Market and REIT exhibition, requested African Tourism Board to be part of the panel discussion on recovery, especially within the African tourism space. In July 2020, we had our first ministerial roundtable engagement that was led by Dr. Taleb and participated by the rest of us here today. We can attest to it. 2020 in August, Qatar Travel Med requested African Tourism Board to be part of their summit participation with a focus on Africa, readiness and willingness, whether opening these discussions were the highlight and the inauguration of African Tourism Board within the Asian travel space. In September, we ushered the climax, that was the climax of African Tourism Board, when the CEO of TSECO, that's the Tourism Development and Facility Management Company in Nigeria, invited African Tourism Board to be part of the unveiling inauguration of Africa Tourism Day, which attracted a wide continental and global audience, participated, and a wide audience of viewers as well. Colleagues, this day should be a memorial and a legacy and a long-term relationship between the two entities, and an endorsement and officially marking it as an annual event. September 2020, African Tourism Board hosted its second ministerial roundtable that attracted 5 continental ministers and leaders within the travel sector, where the emphasis and the focus was how best can we actually rebrand in a synchronized way, how best can we coordinate our efforts within the continent. October 2020, we had our 3rd ministerial roundtable with 5 ministers who graced our occasion. May I then pause, colleagues, and accredit once again Dr. Taleb for his dedication in this industry, and appreciate that we have committed giants in our midst. President Alain, your approach and your quiet diplomacy, always gracing your experience in your busy schedules, and all our chairs, our committees, our ambassadors, each and every one of you have played a very important role in building African Tourism Board. I can go on and on. In October 2020, Polar Projects is an organization that is based in the UK. They are within the medical tourism space, invited African Tourism Board to facilitate and engage on a panel discussion on the Africa Tourism Show. October 2020, African Tourism Board was invited to participate on Africa Brand Summit that was hosted in Cape Town, South Africa, which was a hybrid summit that brought together global players within our travel and economic sectors. In November 2020, the International Tourism Institute, in partnership with the World Travel Market, invited African Tourism Board to be part of their virtual summit, where the focus was on investment, on finance, and rebuilding the travel and tourism industry. Our departure point as African Tourism Board is how best can we draw investment appetite to our beautiful African continent. In November 2020, the World Tourism Forum Institute brought in African Tourism Board in their hybrid summit that was hosted in Dubai. We had the privilege and honor to be part of the great engagement that also brought more than 10 ministers together, mostly from the African continent. In the interest of time, dear colleagues and friends, it is a great privilege to emerge victoriously from a dark era of 2020, meeting for the first time in this new year of 2021 at our fully constituted AGM. 2021 is the African Tourism Board. We are opening a new page in our history as an organization. Every year we celebrate, it affords us to set a new pace and write a new chapter in our existence. Strategic partnerships are being signed with strategic partners across the globe. We have endorsed a global tourism business summit to be hosted in September at Emperor's Palace in Johannesburg, where all our members across the globe will merge to this great event. It is a two-day event. We have engaged our advisory board member, Honorable Minister Vilakazi. The discussions are at a very advanced level where we need to have ministerial tours to Eswatini, where both the ministers will hold a ministerial roundtable. There, as I believe that as an organization, we need to do things differently, to sell a holistic bucket of Africa to our visitors coming to the continent. We are looking at engaging and implementing projects and supporting our individual entities as a priority number one. Dear colleagues, we can do so much together as I invite you to take charge and ownership of this great initiative, African Tourism Board. As I close, colleagues, a lot of negative energy has been channeled on African Tourism Board platforms. This is a new era, and this is a new dawn, and this is a new 2021 that God has afforded to each and every one of us. Our destination is not going to be defined by yesteryear. It's not going to be defined by yesterday. The more you feed your subconscious with negatives, the more yourself you become negative. Therefore, may I present African Tourism Board new platforms from ambassadors, from chairs, from Project Hope. Let the administrators add you to the African Tourism Board 2020 charts platforms. And I would really plead and request that we exit all the other ATB groups. We need a fresh objective attitude that will take Africa and our entities to the global space. As I close once again, colleagues, I would want to recommend the candidature from Bahrain, our Honorable Minister, as she's standing as one of the candidates for the UNWTO as she is Secretary General. May we all rally behind her. May we all pray May we all put our efforts together to make sure we have the right candidate who understands tourism, who has a heart glued and focused on making a global inclusion within the tourism sector. I would really appreciate, as we are going to be engaging, as we are going to be deliberating, we need to really focus on rebuilding ourselves, rebuilding this organization, take it to the greater strength. All of us, each and every one of us, I have said that in the past, that we all represent a brick. So brick by brick, we'll be able to build a solid foundation. Brick by brick, we'll be able to build a solid wall, so that at the end of the day, when we have ran the race, when we look back, we need to say we have ran a good race and we have fought a good fight. Ladies and gentlemen, as I put my closing remarks, a wise man once said, a good leader is he who builds a house or he who plants a tree where he is not going to enjoy the fruits thereof. It is a tree that will actually be able to be a shelter to the birds. It will be a tree that will be a shelter and provide provision and provide fruits to those who pass by under that tree. May the good Lord be with each and every one of us, as I wish you all the best for 2021. It is a good year. God has brought us this far. He has something good for us. And me and you, we need to contribute positively towards our objective, towards within our tourism sector. I thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, thank you so much, Chair. I really wish we had an open forum. This would have been a standing ovation for you for sharing so far what ATB has been able to achieve over the last 1 year and where we want to go moving from here. I do completely agree with you that, and you have demonstrated in your presentation, the need to focus on being driven by solutions to Africa's tourism sector challenges, rather than focusing on the problems. We need to move away from negative energy, which probably has slowed us down, but it has not killed the spirit. We in Kenya are known to be very famous for running marathons. And one thing that we have learned is that when you see a marathon beginning, it starts off with a crowd, but not everyone in the crowd is going to finish the marathon. And not everyone in the crowd is likely to be the first one when the race ends. We know that you start slowly, you build up the momentum, and I think where we are now, we have laid the foundation for ATB to be able to take off. In our second, third year of existence, we should be able to do great things from now on. And with that, I want to just, I think we need no recap, but welcome on the next person who will be presenting to us. We want to hear from the ATB's, a report from ATB's legal officer.
Chairperson, good evening, South African time. Good afternoon, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you to Chairperson, Mr. Ncube. My name is Kauta Sijago. I greet you and with profound humility. Thank you for this opportunity and thank you for this moment of this occasional AGM. I have, as instructed by the board, undertaken an exercise that would determine and pave a way forward in terms of our legal position and standing as ATB. The following observations, as I had engaged with authorities for example, the Commission for Intellectual Property Registration in South Africa, which is the body that registered the companies or deregistered directors in South Africa, have advised of the following steps for us to take. Notwithstanding the fact that I see there is still a lot of communication, which I feel it's in a way misleading from the previous CEO in respect of the standing of ATB as is in South Africa. But let me say, and let me highlight the following. I have noticed at the database of CIPC the following directors to still be active, actively registered within ATB, which is the non-profit organization. The following parties are active, which is Jagan, Mr. Ncube, Doris, Lucy, and the fifth one is Simba. Now, Doris is registered twice. The reason why she's registered twice is because she's a founding director as well as a director, or she's the registering director as well as the director. I also noted that in 2019, I think 2 or 3 directors resigned. I think Jagan resigned, Lucy resigned, and Simba resigned. Then it was in September of 2019. Then in 2020, they were reintroduced again, which is nothing untoward about that. However, coming to the actions that we ought to do now, since the 5 directors are still active, and since the ATB as a company registered in South Africa is still active, meaning nobody has instigated any action in terms of deregistering it. And nobody shall do so. And if somebody purports to do so, he or she has to fulfill the following requirements. 1, there has to be a meeting of directors, all of them, as I've counted, the 5 of them, whereby and a resolution is taken in that meeting that ATB, which is an NPC, is non-existent. In light of the above, there hasn't been any such meeting, and I'm not sure there will be any of such meeting going forward. However, in view of the fact that the 3 directors in question, which is Lucy, Simba, and Doris, who have purportedly opened a parallel structure by that implying that they've duly resigned themselves as directors of ATB. The following has to be in order. Again, there has to be a meeting of the 5 directors I've highlighted, and then the following 3 things have to happen. Yes, the directors have to meet. I know the 3 are not going to be present, but here is how the process will unfold. The company, which is ATB, chaired by the chairman, would have to draw up a resolution stating in the resolution that we have decided to remove Doris, the surname, Simba, the surname, Lucy, the surname, and with the following ID numbers. And then that's one component. The second component, there has to be a minute to that meeting, whereby minutes of the meeting will have to be shared to CICP in the following manner, that we, the directors of ATB, have resolved to remove the following 3 directors. I, the chairperson, Cuthbert Ncube, his signature and ID number. I will share with the chairperson the intricacies of the drafting of the letter as we unfold. I'm just painting a picture now. Then the second director, Jagan, the surname, ID number, signature. The third director, Lucy, ID number, signature. The fourth director, Simba and Doris. Now I know the complexities of what I'm trying to say, that the three directors will probably say, I'm not gonna do that. And which is common cause that they won't do that. However, we would have followed the process, as it were. Then we left with two directors who are signatories to those minutes. Then the last step is to then the chairperson issues a mandate. And again, I will share with the chairperson how the mandate would have to be constructed. It's not a tedious, it's not a long, drawn out thing. It's just a paragraph or so. Instituting the CIPC or giving authority or a mandate to CIPC to remove the three directors accordingly. So now, the three things that are required to happen for CIPC to act on these three directors. One is the minutes. Two is the resolution of the meeting held within the directors at the top, and three is the mandate. Now, the meeting, I know it will only be held between Jagan and Mr. Ncube because the other three have resigned themselves or are hostile, as it were, and therefore won't cooperate. So now, then it paves our way from a legal position that, okay, now what do we do in view of the fact that in the minutes, as it were, as they were expected to have attended the meeting, they didn't come, they are non-cooperative, and based on the supporting documentation that I got from the chairperson in terms of the purported resignation letter and the acceptance thereof, then we then say, look, we have done this, but these people have failed. Then as going forward, a letter from the lawyers is dispatched to the three individuals. And the letter seeks to say, basically, or an email, it could be a letter, an email, it's the same thing, which seeks to give them time, or at least allowable time within X amount of days to remove themselves or to resign if they haven't. Then if they don't respond within 7 days, we give them, we write to them another letter to say, look, pending our previous letter, you failed to honor this, that. We are then still reminding you to act upon what we've written. Then if then they still fail, we're building a case for when we have to then seek a court order removing them. And that court order will
Unmute.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Okay, that relief the court would have given or granted us would have to take it to CICP with the mandate to say, look, we've gotten this relief from court, and therefore the directors of ATB are mandating you, CICP, to remove the following directors. So unfortunately, it has to be a process, colleagues, but in terms of the law and in terms of the act, we have to follow every process to ensure that these parties cooperate with our intention. It is not, as it were, a quick fix thing wherein we just go in and reintroduce new members as a replacement or substitution, but we've got, because these members are active and ATB is still active, but it has to be a process whereby these members have to be given the opportunity to say yeah or nay, or to comply, if failing which we are at least seen to have done A, B, C, D. But let me say this, in the latest email or WhatsApp I got from the group, it purported to suggest that Doris is still fighting to claim the delegitimacy of ATB, which is lies. ATB is still functional, is still operational. It can still conduct its business. And for her, if she is no longer interested in the affairs of ATB, all she does is to resign herself and go and pursue this parallel structure that she is so sought to pursue. And then ATB continues. However, it appears that she still wants to draw a lot of members from the current structure so as to make sure it bleeds and so as to make sure that ultimately she's able to pursue whatever she wants to pursue. I think for us, as the chairperson was saying, let's not be distracted by that. Let's move ahead. I think these are just the hurdles that we need to climb. And these are just the things that we need to make sure that our house is in the dark. And also, lastly, from my side, there is an issue that was also raised in terms of our tax affairs, which I don't know whether, chairperson, you are aware, or how much aware are you in respect of our tax compliance? And that also would need to make sure that if our tax affairs are in order, I know it's an NPC, it's not collecting money that is compliant with the tax in terms of, I know you got to make or declare profit of $1 million and above in order to pay tax in South Africa. So I don't think we are there yet, but you would give direction to that exercise, chairperson, in respect of tax, whether we've been filing over the past year or what. But I think as far as the legal matters and report is concerned, that is my submission for the time. I think I'll take questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kauta, for taking us through and for all the research you've done to be able to share with members on the status of ATB as an entity, as an organization, and the very good news that actually nothing has been done to change the status as it were. But as the chairperson was earlier presenting, you will note that he mentioned that we need to join new social media groups. Challenge that continues to be here is the statement, like the very latest communication from Doris, mentioning that we are talking about ATB USA and we are not talking about ATB South Africa and all that kind of stuff. Could you be able to clarify to the members what is the legal Kauta?
Chairperson, sorry, you were breaking. Can you?
We lost you.
I lost you there. Can you please appraise me again with what your question is? Chairperson, did you hear me?
I think we lost him.
No.
I think the chairperson.
To the communication. Sorry.
Please go ahead.
I was saying in reference to the communication we had from the chairperson earlier on.
Yes.
We seem to be having a lot of negative energy coming from Doris, and she's referring to two arms of ATB. She seems to be referring to one in the USA and the one in South Africa and all. Maybe you just need to clarify to members our status as things stand.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Again, membership. Let me say this to you very clear. What Doris is saying, she's trying to fish for something that she's unable to back up. It is common cause that ATB USA exists. It is also common cause that ATB South Africa exists. So she is deflecting the attention of us having to continue with our order of business as ATB South Africa. Therefore, deferring our attention to ATB USA as if ATB South Africa doesn't exist. I put it that ATB South Africa does exist and is active as per my interactions with CIPC this afternoon. And I put it that to, ATB has got the 5 directors that I had indicated earlier in my submission as active. Now, I do not know, Doris is making herself the authority. She's making herself the legislature. And to me, that's bizarre because you cannot, I mean, the Companies Act is very clear that if she's unhappy, if she's resigned herself or she's got intention to resign or she doesn't want to participate in the affairs of ATB, ATB is not a close corporation. ATB is a company, hence that it's governed by the Companies Laws of South Africa. So all that's needed is for her to meet with the chairperson, with Jagan, with Lucy, with Simba. The 5 of them resolve that the 3 parties, as the letter that we're gonna draft after this meeting and send to them by email, with the 3 people resign. Then if she doesn't want to sign that letter and further provide the ID as proof that she's supportive of the fact that she's resigned, then a certain process has to unfold beyond that. But to your point and your question, sir, ATB South Africa does exist, can still carry on business, and is currently active at the CIPC. Now, whether she feels or intends to do whatever she needs to do, she's got no chance in hell to maneuver whatever she wants to maneuver without the consent of the other 2 directors. I don't understand who's advising her to think and to say such things. And I think my request then to the directors is to say, let's be mindful of the process that we have to follow going forward in terms of the 3 tiers that we've got to approach this matter, i.e. the minutes, the resolutions, and the mandate. Let's just be compliant to those for the sake of the process, so as to engage with them. Then we would have been seen to have done our part. But as far as her saying ATB South Africa doesn't exist, I think she's just building castles in the air or blowing hot air, to be precise. So yeah,
thank you. I think before we go, thank you so much, Kaota, for clarifying that to the members, so that we know that we are here legally and that we are dealing with deliberations that are binding and have far-reaching implications to the organization. And it's not just by the way, or it's not wishful thinking. This is a legal organization, and whatever happens must follow the process of the law. And so with that in mind, then that maybe I should open up for comment.
Professor, may I say something? Professor.
Presented by the legal officer. And if there are any questions, please feel free to ask.
Professor.
And then after, maybe we can allow 2 questions. Yes, please.
Prof.
Kevin.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Yeah.
Thank you all. I want to thank you, I want to thank Cuthbert, and I want to thank our good lawyer for that. I don't want to go into much legal details because I think that will consume our energy unnecessarily. What I want to say is these are natural pains of growth and success. When you succeed, you have to pay a price. And we're paying the prices now. That's how I see it. Now, going back to some of the details of what the lawyer said, which are very important issues, I think the details can speak for themselves. What I know is the following. I want to share this with you. I have known Doris and I have known Simba. I don't know Lucy. I don't know where she came from. But I was told after that she was a founding member. Now, Lucy is something else. But Doris and Simba, I remember very well our last meeting we had together to try and resolve some of the issues that are connected to Jürgen's connection with ATB and American ATB, so to speak. And we got somewhere. But suddenly, both Simba and Dora started to throw at me the issue of the charter. I said, what charter? So we have a charter. I said, I didn't see that charter. That's where I became a bit suspicious, because I didn't know there was a charter. Apparently there is no charter. The charter has been drafted by Simba, and they are assumed they can work with it. And the charter, when I read it, I asked to be given a copy of it. I found something that made me suspicious. It says that this committee of 4 people only, not Lucy there, will stay there for 10 years. Imagine 10 years under the rule of this committee. That's where I started to take a position. I said, no way, I'm not gonna work in an organization that's run by dictators like that, regardless of who they are. This is an African organization that should be run by African. And it's an organization, an NTO, so it should be elected members. Nobody elected them. So that's where I stand now. Now,
Right.
I think that what we need to do is follow the letter of the lawyer. But my suggestion is the following. The 3 members, if they are 3, because Lucy, I don't know at all, should be replaced by 3 people we would decide on today. I think these 3 people, together with the 2 that are remaining, will act temporarily as an interim group until a month or 2 or 3, till they draft a new charter, new organizational chart. Nobody knows what's going on. We're a big membership of people that have trusted Cuthbert, and Cuthbert is leading us. So I suggest that we follow what the lawyer said, but we end this meeting by choosing 3 substitute members to replace the other members. Try to choose 3 substitute members. Am I heard now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Taleb.
I think
can
that's what
hear
we
you.
need to do today.
Yes.
Because otherwise I can't live with an organization that's led by 4 people for 10 years, whoever these people are. Some of them are my very good friends. Great respect for Cuthbert, great respect for Jürgen. Even Doris and Simba, I've worked with them. But this is not a way to run an NGO. An NGO must elect its members. That's my point. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Professor.
Maybe
So much for your
since
contribution.
yeah, since you mentioned me, Taleb, I wanted to second exactly what you're saying, and thank you for this. I think we're reaching the state of this organization in growing up and becoming an adult organization, and it's all a process we're going through. This is our first General Assembly. We never had a General Assembly before because we were building this organization. So I'm 100% support your suggestion in proceeding this way forward. And I also wanted to thank you, Professor Lumala, for hosting this, and also our attorney Kabuto for laying this out very clearly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other comment, members? Then we can go to the next agenda.
Can I say
yes,
something?
Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
Can I say something, Professor?
Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm Ibrahim Ayub, a member of ATB, right? So I'm just bouncing on what Dr. Taleb has just said and what Jürgen said, but just on the legal matter, I mean, the legal person has been doing a great job. Thank you for that. As they are, I mean, as such, I support that motion said by Dr. Taleb to vote for 3 members to come in. But my point was, he's going to say, since there are 5, according to the legal advisor, there are 5 directors, which mean Cuthbert and Jürgen, and then Lucy, Simba, and and the other gentleman, Doris,
Doris.
are majority on the board. Legally, can they be on a majority 3 against 2, making legal actions and take over? How to prevent that? Could it be by nominating 3 new members today, which mean then, with this assembly nominating 3 new members, which mean then it will grow to 8 members, which mean then 5 against 3. Then you will hold majority. Is it
Can I take that question?
Yes, please.
The beauty about this, if it were to go that way, Lucy has resigned anyway in October, and I've got a letter from her drafted to the chairperson. So that if we were to pursue such a route, it would disqualify her in any way. So it leaves the 2 members, it's 2 versus 2. But to your point, or rather to your question, there can never be, if let's say Lucy were to, in all normal senses of the word, if Lucy were to say, I haven't resigned, it's 3 against 2. It doesn't work like that. And it would never work like that. It still would have to go to that submission that in terms of the law, there has to be a meeting. 5 directors agree that this is going to happen and minuted and end. So which in the natural course of events, that is not going to happen because there seems to be a disconnect between the 5 directors. However, we, or rather the current directors who are present at ATB would have to take the matters into their own hands. How they do that? They follow the same process that I've outlined. And they reach out to them and the minutes, and they write all the name with their signature. Unfortunately, they're going to sign the 2 directors and leave the space for the 3 directors to sign. So if they still refuse to sign, but with Lucy having done so in any way, having resigned herself, it's just a formality for her so as to follow the natural course of events when we submit to CIPC. But it has, unfortunately, to follow that process whereby we submit all those signatures together with the resolution, together with the mandate to CICP, saying this is what we've resolved upon. Then, in the same minutes, as you are saying, appoint the 3 replacements. We therefore, in lieu of the following resignations, appoint or nominate or substitute these individuals with Dr. Talib Rafai, Professor Musiba, Emmanuel, as an example. Therefore, their respective IDs and signatures in the same minutes would have to be attached as well, so that it gives directions, it gives credence to the exercise we are doing. I hope I've answered you, sir.
Thank you.
May I say something, Professor? May I make a follow-up comment, please?
Then Emmanuel, get ready. I saw your hand up. Yes.
Thank you.
Tell him.
Thank you. No, I'm said I trust our lawyer very much. I think he should do whatever he needs to do. What I'm interested in here is the following. Whatever we do, this must be temporary, because eventually we must have another GM in 2-3 months to elect a permanent committee. So this committee has to be temporary. I cannot live and accept any committee, no matter who's on it, for 10 years running our shows. That's not acceptable at all. This charter altogether was imposed on us. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Professor
so much.
Lumala,
Yes.
I would strongly suggest that we nominate 3 people to serve until the last week of March. A second, in March, a second General Assembly be held, which will receive, that committee will be in charge of drafting a new charter. And that new charter is to be presented within, this is the middle of January, so by the end of March. So that gives them 2.5 months. That charter should then be looked at by the membership. They should have 1 week to make any written comments that they like, and then a vote should be taken, and with new permanent members. But I think it's very important that we set a schedule today. That we set a schedule today of exactly when we will be doing things. So that way it's very clear to everyone exactly when the dates will take place, and that it will not look like these are dates that are never going to come to an end. It's very clear.
Yes.
The last week of March, an election, maybe the first week of April, whatever it happens to be, or the third week of March, and the last week of March, an election, and done. And then we move on.
Okay. Can I just add to that some little
Thank you
detail?
so much, Peter. I think the charter is something that Taleb raised, and I think it's important that indeed part of the problem we are having now, including what was raised at the EXCO level, it was the issue to do with the contention surrounding the charter. And there was an ad hoc committee that was established, which I actually established. There were challenges to do with the charter, and it's important that as we we move forward, we rethink about coming up with a charter for ATB.
We need to come up with a charter plus
how we want to manage ourselves, that will explain how we want to elect our officials, and if we are going to have a secretariat, this secretariat, where will it be based? Where will be the headquarters? It is sometimes very disturbing what the ad hoc committee established.
That's right. Plus an organizational chart. I think this committee will have to be charged by producing a good organizational chart, which we don't have yet as well.
And everything should be used the word right now, transitory or committee in transition or transition committee, so that it's very clear that we're not creating anything permanent at the moment, but that this will eventually lead to a permanent organization. So yes. I suggest we elect committee members and transition or transitory members and they are to be in charge of creating a new charter, and they will have 2.5 months is more than enough time. This should not be a complicated charter. This should be a very simple charter. The less complicated it is, the better it's going to be for all of us.
Thank you. I think Emmanuel wanted to say something.
Well, I think basically it had to do with what Mr. Ibrahim Ayob asked. I wanted to ask the exact question, and I'm happy lawyer Kauta has addressed it, because it was something that some of us have been thinking about, that if the chair and Yogan has opportunity, then equally the three of them would also be thinking of what we are thinking. But now that we've been informed that they don't have that right and that liberty to do that, then I think we are excited. What we need to do, as has been mentioned by all of you, is to act swiftly so that we don't delay anymore. So thank you very much. My question has been addressed.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Thank you.
Professor Cuthbert wants to say something, I think.
Cuthbert, unmute yourself, please.
Thank you so much, colleagues. I was actually looking at most probably dwelling on the positives, especially as we have anchored into 2021. May I, for the benefit of our members on the issue of the charter document, as Dr. Taleb has alluded, that it is a document that was crafted not for the benefit of the organization at a broader scale, but it was a document that was crafted for the benefit of few individuals. Hence, I've got the document in front of me, and unfortunately, it's a duplication. It's not a drafted document. It is a duplication from a charter that belongs to an organization, the Retosa Group. That is why I refused to endorse this document, because if you go, even the preamble, all what they did or what he did is to replace Retosa with ATB. In other words, it does not talk to the benefit of these great organization. If you go chapter by chapter, it is exactly the document that was extracted from another organization that failed. That is why we did not endorse the document and we did not even sign the document. So that's why the contention rose around this very document, where I, as executive chairperson in every meeting, we would really plead that you cannot have founding members who are also the executive members, and they also act as the secretariat of an organization. I mean, it's unfound of. So that's why we are saying it is not a charter. It is a document from another organization that failed, and it has been imposed on African Tourism Board. So we don't have a charter. I totally agree with Dr. Taleb and my colleagues that let's have a committee that will then structure and document that will govern the interests of our organization as African Tourism Board, and also appreciating the legal person in our midst. We have actually indicated the processes we need to follow. I'm sure we need to expedite those processes because we need to work, colleagues. We have wasted so much time in issues that are really irrelevant to our objectives as the African continent, as African Tourism Board. If we could expedite that process, Mr. Kauta, so that we move on. And also my plea, please, it's really heartening to always read and see negative sentiments with somebody who has her own personal agenda, either to derail the progress of this organization or to destroy this organization for their own benefit. So we cannot be wasting time with such individuals. So I would plead that all our members, please, let's migrate from those platforms and make sure that we are included in the ATB 2021 platforms so that we then start discussing robustly on a way forward for the organization.
Thank you so much, Chair. Sorry, I got disconnected a bit. Do we then agree that as things stand now, we have those new platforms in place?
Yes,
are the new platforms already in place? Clearly, please, we need them named properly so that you add there 2021 for members to know that they have now joined the right platforms.
The right platform.
Because otherwise, if they appear repetitive and they appear like we are in the same groups, it's so difficult to know which is the right group, which one is the wrong, the one we should be leaving.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that would be important. And with that in mind,
if I'm allowed.
Yes, please.
Yes. So what will happen is the moment you see your name on ATB 2021, then you delete yourself or you exit the old one. That will help. So within the next 2 days, I think we should be done with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that can be done, I think that would be important because like the chair is emphasizing, we would want to follow the law, but we don't want to also to be constantly reminded that we are doing something that is illegal. And then it ends up being very negative for no reason. And we don't want the exit. Look at the Elder Taleb. He had to keep saying the meeting will happen. And we were being told the meeting won't happen. So it's really those kind of things that we want to avoid. I think it's in the best interest of all the members and the organization that we are able to avoid such negative energies. Then I think that also,
Professor, may I make a suggestion that not only do we pick 3 people for transitory today, but that an article and a newsletter goes out instantaneously congratulating those people and saying that they are the new people, members, along with Jürgen and Cuthbert as the transitory executive commission, so that it's clear to everyone in print that this is exactly what's happening. I think that will undercut anything that Doris might want to say. So
No, but Peter, I'm not sure that's correct. I think our lawyer indicated otherwise. We still have to deal with the two people, three people that we have.
we can still say these other people were elected by the assembly. So we can we can say they were.
You can say that.
Yes.
You can say that. But first, we have to go through the process that our lawyer has indicated that we should go through. I don't want to go into that details. What I'm trying to say here is the following: we need a new leadership. I'm sorry to say this. This new leadership will carry us until the end of March, as you suggest. And then there will be a democratic election, because any organization that's not democratic is not worth being in. It's not worth being part of. Believe me.
Yeah,
I agree.
No committee should dictate for itself to stay for 10 years. That's what had my attention.
What we need to do now is that we need to nominate people who will help us to look into the charter. And as the legal aspects are being addressed, that we should be able then to prepare for a proper full AGM later on in March to adopt the new charter and the structures that it will have created, so that we can have proper elections. And as we seem to agree, we need a leadership that is built on what is best on this charter that will have created, rather than the current stalemate where the organization is in the hands of 4 or 5 people.
Without giving up on ATB itself. ATB as an idea,
Yes.
I'm ready to give it up. I'm never ready to give it up. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Yes,
I'd
please.
like to know, you talk about ATP 2021. So are you dissolving the current ATP and moving to the 2021? Two, since Cuthbert is talking about the document for the organization, can he open the platform whereby the whole organization will have an input regarding the document that needs to be signed?
Thank you so much, Cynthia. I will answer the first part and then Cuthbert will address the second. The issue of 2021 is basically to create an identity where we are dealing with members who have attended this meeting, for example. Members who are reading from the same script as far as building the future of African Tourism Board is concerned, without necessarily looking backwards, because we cannot constantly go backwards unless we are looking for problems. We want to look ahead. So to be able to break from this constant bashing that seems to be there and exchange, we want a new forum where we will be able to realize our objectives and our goals as ATB. And I think as far as the other bit of the question is concerned, and that's purely for social media, just to ensure that we know which group we are dealing with. And then, of course, the other question, I will pass it on to the chair.
Thank you so much, Chair. I think you have cleared the air. And on the document, Cynthia, that's why we are saying we are going to nominate a committee that will sit and draft the working document for the organization. Once they are done with the document, it still comes back to the membership. We need to approve it, not 2 individuals or 4 individuals. It's going to be an exclusive exercise. Once each and every member has satisfied themselves, then that's where the endorsement of the document will take place in signing.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So I think we should go ahead now and talk about nominate the committee, the 3 or 4 members we are talking about, so that we can finish the meeting in good time. Any proposal?
Can I just make a simple suggestion? The mandate of this committee must be clear. The mandate of this committee must be clear first. The mandate of this committee is to stay 2.5 months to draft a new charter, to draft a new organizational chart, and to define who the members are. I mean, they should lead the way for 2 months, 2.5 months. I hope we're clear about this.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
so purely to look at the structure, develop a new charter, and build a consensus from the members up to the time when it will be approved. Once it's approved, the mandate ends.
That's right.
Right.
It is right. Okay. Can I make a suggestion here?
Yeah.
I'd like to see our lawyer part of that group, for example.
So Kauta
The other person
is proposed?
Yes, I'm proposing Kauta, Zine as well. She was part of the ad hoc committee, and Walter Mzambi.
Right.
Okay.
These are my three
Walter
candidates.
Mzambi.
All right.
Walter Mzambi, Kauta, and Zine have been proposed.
Right.
Chair.
Yeah. Can these are the colleagues who are going to look on the issue of the charter and the structure of the organization. May I then suggest that can we have, we've got 3, can we have 5? And that will see an inclusiveness, especially in our approach. Yeah, if we could probably have one from East Africa, West Africa, and also within the global community, so that we have a collective exercise.
I prefer that. If that's the case, I'd nominate Professor Lumula. Would you be part of that from East Africa, and Abigail from West Africa?
May I? I'd like to know who would work. Cuthbert thinks would work best with him, and maybe those people. But I'd like to hear Cuthbert's ideas.
I think I would. The objective for this exercise, especially bringing a broader platform, is to make sure that we have a broader participation. Yes. So may I throw it back to the chair so that we identify other individuals who can play a pivotal and positive role. And of course, also setting up a time frame for the committee.
What I hear is that first of all, do we agree that this should be a committee of 5 members or 3?
5.
5 is fine.
5 is fine.
So we have 5 members. Of this, we have agreed that the legal officer, Kauta, is one of them. And Kauta comes from South Africa. I had Zine's name. And then we have Walter, Honorable Walter Mzambi. And then we have from West Africa, Abigail, are you there? Did I hear Abigail's name?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, she's here.
And you, of course. You, Professor.
And then
for Africa,
West Africa. West Africa, we have Abigail. Then we have East Africa. We have, but we also mentioned the need to go to diaspora.
Alain wanted to say something. He'd been trying, I think.
Yes.
No, Chair, I wanted to support the name put forward by Dr. Rifai, which is Walter, Abigail, Zine, and yourself, based in Kenya. I am, of course, from Seychelles, so we are next door to each other. But I want to impress on everyone. I think it's a big group of people meeting for this first General Assembly of the ATB. It is so important that we finish the bureaucracy side of this meeting so that we can then give mandate to our people to start work, but also for us to look at the point that is today the question facing everybody, that we need ATB to become the voice of tourism, not to be quarreling amongst ourselves, but to look at tourism and the way forward. COVID is biting, yes, but there is a post-COVID. So we need to be ready for post-COVID. The world is moving around us and we are stuck in the past. We need to move forward and look at post-COVID with dynamism, with a new voice so that Africa gets the most of the African Tourism Board from the African Tourism Board so that Africa benefits from it. Please let us move ahead and try and ensure that Africa is the one that comes out with the biggest benefit from ATB.
Thank you so much, Alain, for your input. I think we must go beyond the talk show. We need to start now working on things that should help us. Right.
Professor?
Yes, please.
Professor? Yes, I'm asking about Senegal for West Africa. What role can they play in this organization?
May I say something here, please?
Yes, please.
I think the issue of representing all of Africa will have to come from the permanent committee that will be elected at the end of March. What we're talking about now is a transitional committee only. We can't have everybody in that committee. No. Senegal is a very important country, and I know that we need to keep that into mind. But that will have to be described at the charter, at the new charter. And then the permanent elections will have to be representative of everybody. Now there is an advantage to have many people from South Africa because the issue has to do with South Africa. The legal issue has to do with South Africa. That's why. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that clarifies. It's just that at this moment, we are not electing and we are not going regional. Perhaps when we come up with the charter and it clearly defines whether we want to have regional representation, then West Africa as a region can be able to speak up, and I'm sure Senegal's voice will be heard.
Okay, so we need to have one more person.
We have how many so far?
You have 4.
5.
So we have
5.
Masibo, you have
Abigail,
we
have Walter Mzembi, we have Zine, and we have Kauta.
Right, and do you need anybody else?
That's enough.
I think
Don't be too
the argument was that should be enough for now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And
Thank
I
you so
propose
much.
that I motion that the people's names who have been put forward be elected as transitory members, or be elected as members of a transitory committee to work until the end of March, at which time they are to propose a new charter for the African Tourism Board.
And the new elections.
Anyone seconding that?
And yes. Does anybody second
Someone
that?
to second that proposal?
I want, Professor, I want to ask Dr. Taleb Rifai, who gonna represent in Africa, the West African region? That's what my question.
Okay. We said that as with West Africa, we have Abigail, who comes from Nigeria, who is representing on this short-term committee only. I don't think we are going to have a representation from everybody, everywhere now. We're just having 5 people, 2 from South Africa, because that's where the head office is based, and that's where all the legal matters have to be sorted. Then we have our brother Walter Mzembi from Central Africa, and then we have Abigail West Africa, and myself from East Africa.
That's only temporary. That's only temporary, sir.
So I was asking who is seconding the proposal.
Dr. Rifai. Dr. Rifai.
Yes.
My question was not that only, because when we choose Ivory Coast in the place of Senegal, and Senegal is in the region, the first actor in tourism. So the power and the result of Senegalese tourism is different to Ivory Coast and Ghana and other countries. Of course, Senegal is French speaking. So if in the committee you choose one French language and one English language, it will be better. That was my questions, according to the power and the position of every country in tourism. Not to choose Ivory Coast, because Ivory Coast is not having more power in tourism than Senegal. That's my point of view.
Taleb, you want to react to that?
Taleb,
please unmute yourself. Taleb, unmute yourself.
I have great respect to Senegal. I was elected the first time as Deputy Secretary General of UNWTO in Senegal, in Dakar. So I know exactly how important Senegal is. But we are not electing any committee that's of permanent shape at all. What we're saying here is this group of people are elected for their personality, not for what they represent. They have to carry us just until March, until the end of March. After the end of March, we will elect freely the committee members, permanent committee members. And then I would insist, like you, I'll be on your side 100%. I'll insist that Senegal be represented and the French-speaking would be represented. Must represent French-speaking, must represent English-speaking, must represent the Portuguese-speaking as well. I think so. But that's all part of the new charter.
Ibrahim.
Yes. Sorry. Ibrahim. Can I just add something, Professor?
Yes,
I support all what you're saying here. Just to comment on one thing, since we will be having 5 members, could we have then the 5 members also nominated as the directors together with Cuthbert and Jürgen? So that means there would be 7. They would represent 7 as directors, temporary directors until March. Would that be the same? Or should you nominate 3 more separate directors? Because that you're talking about 5 members that are going to work on the charter, which is fine, absolutely fine. But my point was, should you nominate 3 or 5 to be part of the board of directors, temporary board of directors till March?
Thank you, Ibrahim. I think from the legal advice we have received, that will not be necessary now. I think we will not want to we will cross that bridge when it comes to March. By then we will have handled all the legal issues surrounding the existence, the current the board of directors as they are. So we need the 5 of them to go through the process until that point where we will feel like now the 3 have resigned, so we need to fill up the positions, and maybe at that point we will need to go a different approach, given that we'll have come up with a charter that clearly explains how we want to run ATB.
Professor Masibo, if I just come in technically, we have a few people raising hand. I just made you a co-host so you can see it as well, because I know you couldn't see who was raising hand. So if you look at it
right
now. Okay.
It's important to have everybody here.
Yeah, Muzembe, Walter.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that in view of the sensitivities characterizing French-speaking Africa and English-speaking Africa, and the need to be inclusive and magnanimous in our co-options, perhaps a parting off statement to Mr. Mohammed would be that this committee should be given the latitude to co-opt additional members to diversify its standing as it executes its work. And if I'm in that committee, I can assure you that we will make sure that we co-opt members from French-speaking Africa, so that we reflect the language diversity and the product offerings as they currently are constituted in Africa. Yeah.
Right.
I think that is fair enough. We should be able to give the committee that mandate. Eventually, they may need to have someone who will be a secretary to the committee, and perhaps co-opting will be the best way to go. Yeah. Once the mandate is very clear and the terms of reference have been given as spelled out here, I think that should be fine. Could I then, at this point juncture, go back to the chair and ask him to share with us which dates he's looking at in March? When should this committee submit the report?
May I just say something first, please?
Yes, please.
I think we need to hear the others. There are some people that have raised their hands. Let's hear them first, and then we hear Cuthbert.
Right.
Jürgen, who are they?
Yeah, there's Chief Abion, and there is Vera Oyoma.
Okay.
Vera Oyoma, please.
Hello,
Vera.
Vera, please unmute yourself. Vera, please.
Can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, hello everyone. It's nice to be here.
Hello.
I was just going to make an observation that I didn't notice from all that we're not including the diaspora. So I noticed that the committee that was set up, I know the number has reached its maximum as discussed, but going forward in the future, I think it's ideal to include the diaspora because we have quite a number of interests from there towards investments and even promoting the African travel. That's just an observation and something I wanted to mention.
Completely agree. Completely agree. I completely agree.
Right. So as far as I think the question of diaspora, again, that could be something what Walter referred to as being able to co-opt. It would be interesting to get your views as we look through into the charter. But remember, this is a very transitory committee. It's not leadership committee for ATB. That proper elections will be held in March. So at that point, Vera, I think it would be important to, maybe what you are bringing to our attention is that in crafting the charter, we must remember that we have representation from the diaspora.
Yes.
I don't know if you see it. There is Chief Abion also raising.
Yeah, Chief, please.
Thank you very much.
I'm Kitty Pope, and I'm with African Diaspora Tourism in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. What we are talking about here is just an ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
The ad hoc committee will have to more or less consult and then get the views of other member countries and present a charter. After all, they're just producing a draft document.
Yeah.
Which all of us will now have access to. All of us will have to contribute to. And because it's ad hoc committee, it shouldn't be too large, really, because when it gets too large, delayed and so on, they should represent the views of everybody, regardless of where they're coming from, as long as within the membership of ATB. I therefore move to support the nomination of the 5 persons so that we can proceed. And also, we have spent enough time on this as well. I need to move on, let them do their work, let them consult. After all, they have access to the database of members. So they can actually relate and liaise with all members for their views and contributions. Because they will now begin to enlarge the reasons to now include, or one is or the other, to include that category of persons or individuals. So let us work with these 5. They can consult, they can liaise, they can seek the views of the wider membership, and then let them give us a draft report. That's my view. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chief. That's a very wise suggestion.
Thank you so much. So I think I pass it back to Cuthbert.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much, Chair. We really appreciate. Can we give them up to the 31st of March, and then we have our AGM on the 1st of April? So that we give them ample time, and within the space we need to, they will be consulting with all of us. Actually, using the channels.
Yeah, I would even meeting on the 1st of April.
Yeah,
we will be fooling you all. We can't do that.
Do it on the 2nd, not on the 1st.
Make it the 2nd. Okay. Okay. But I suggest we call the question and make it for the 2nd, and because we'll discuss
second
forever.
2nd is a Friday. 2nd is a Friday, which is good.
I'm just wondering, I'm okay with all of this. I just wonder if this is really enough time. Because February only is a short month. We have a lot of other issues. Corona, everyone is dealing with. I would actually suggest to give it to the end of April, but I'm okay with end of March. I just don't want to stress ourselves.
Jürgen, I think the longer you give it, the more complicated it gets.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you want to get it. I would like it even shorter, because it's we're not writing the Charter of the United Nations. This should be a very simple document, and let's not make it complicated. This is just, it should be a few people who come up with something, they present it, then we can discuss it afterwards. But right now, if you don't get started, you will never get started.
You're right. I agree with Peter.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So it's the 2nd of
that
April?
will be the 2nd of April.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I suggest you call for a vote.
Oh, yes. Chair, where is the chair? Can you unmute yourself, Prof?
Professor Lumala, please call for a vote.
Right. Just hold on. I need to unmute myself.
Okay, unmute.
You need to do that.
Professor, unmute yourself and call for a vote.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we hear you. We hear you, Professor.
Yes. Right. So at this point, I think we need to make a decision that when Chair, the next meeting will be on 2nd of April 1st. Do we agree on that?
Yes.
Yes.
2nd of April. I think with that in mind, then I like we have discussed most of the other issues. I have finished my part. That's why I was passing it on to Cuthbert to make his final remarks and close the meeting.
No, but you have to have a vote. If not, you don't have anything. Call for a vote. Just say, I call for a vote.
Unmute yourself, please. Professor, unmute yourself. Professor, you're muted. You're muted, Prof.
You're muted.
He's
Prof,
dead. No, he's there. It's frozen.
Okay.
Cuthbert, call for a vote.
Okay, colleagues, thank you so much. Those who agree or second the 2nd of April, do we all agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Seconded. So on the 2nd of April, please, colleagues, the committee members, let's work with speed. We have wasted so much time, so we need to.
May I just suggest from the technical part that you call who agrees and who doesn't agree to also to just raise their hand, because I can see and you can see who's raising hands.
May I suggest only someone raise their hand if they oppose? If not,
if you oppose, yes.
If you don't raise your hand, you have agreed.
Anyone who doesn't agree, colleagues?
Anita doesn't agree.
Okay, Anita, can you
explain yourself, please?
Can you explain yourself, please, ma'am? Anita?
Yes, thank you. I thought if you agree, you raise your hand.
No, the other way around. The other way around.
Okay, sorry, I agree.
Okay, no, thank you so much. Thank you so much. No, yeah, it looks like the majority have agreed for us to converge on the 2nd of April.
No, but Cuthbert, it's also have agreed to the following people have been elected as part of the transition committee. Okay?
Anyone who have a different opinion on the members that have been elected to lead us in this process, please, may you show by raising your hand.
Only until the end of March.
Right.
Yes, that's the interim.
Right. If you agree, do not raise your hand.
Okay, no one is raising a hand.
So that means we all agree.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Unanimous.
Yes. Right.
Congratulations.
No, thank you so much, colleagues. We have wasted so much time. We have so much to do. Please, let's join hands together. Let's work together as a team. Let's work together as a team. Let's lift one another and make sure that we actually achieve our objectives to rebrand our continent, rebrand Africa, rebrand our entities. We don't want to put more emphasis on Africa, excluding our businesses we are running. 2021, we are going to do things differently. Hence, I indicated that in our conference, we are going to explore. We don't want a situation where Mr. Alain visits South Africa, he ends in Cape Town and goes back to Seychelles. We want him to be in Zambia. We want them to be in Namibia. These are places that are closer in proximity. Hence, we are saying we are going to take all our delegates to Eswatini. We are going to be hosted there. So let's be part of building African Tourism Board. It's your organization. It's our organization. Let's do the best we can. We really appreciate. Thank you so much. And may the good Lord keep you safe, especially in the midst of this pandemic. South Africa, we are experiencing a scourge, especially on the second phase of COVID-19. But let's stay safe. Let's practice the safety protocols so that at the end of the day, we have so much to do. We have so much to labor in the vineyard within the tourism sector. Thank you so much, colleagues.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Good night.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Good day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.